I've been driving trucks for most of my adult life, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's that being alone on the road for too long can mess with your head. When you're staring at the same stretch of highway for hours, especially at night, your mind starts playing tricks on you. Shadows look like people. Road signs seem to appear out of nowhere. Every little sound makes you glance at the mirrors. That's what I told myself after what happened on Route 66. I was running a late-night load through Oklahoma in the summer of 2026. It was one of those trips where everything had gone wrong from the start. The warehouse loaded me late, traffic cost me another hour, and by midnight I was still a long way from my next stop.
Route 66 looked almost abandoned that night. The old gas stations were dark. Most of the roadside diners had been boarded up for years. Every few miles I'd pass an empty building or a faded sign that looked like it had been standing there since the 1950s. There wasn't another vehicle in sight. Just me, my truck, and miles of darkness. Around 1 a.m, my GPS started acting weird. The screen froze for a second, then recalculated my route. It wanted me to take a construction bypass a few miles ahead. That immediately caught my attention because I knew that bypass had been closed for months. I'd driven through that area before. Still, the GPS kept insisting. When I reached the exit, I slowed down. The barriers that should have blocked the road weren't there. Neither were the warning signs. The road was completely open. And sitting near the entrance was an old Peterbilt. I remember thinking how strange it looked. The truck was ancient. Its paint was faded and peeling, and the chrome reflected the moonlight like polished silver.
A second later, the Peterbilt pulled onto the bypass and disappeared into the darkness. Something about it made me uncomfortable. I can't really explain why. Maybe it was the fact that I couldn't see any marker lights. Maybe it was because the truck looked decades older than anything usually running freight anymore. Whatever the reason, I stayed on the main highway. The moment I passed the exit, my GPS screen went black. Not frozen. Black. I tapped the screen. Nothing. For nearly 20 miles, it stayed dead. I remember joking to myself that the old road was haunted. A few hours later, I wasn't joking anymore.
It was around 2:30 in the morning when I noticed headlights behind me. At first, I was glad. After hours alone, seeing another vehicle felt reassuring. The headlights slowly got closer. Then I noticed something odd. One light appeared lower than the other. As the vehicle closed the distance, I recognized it immediately. It was the same Peterbilt. The exact same truck. I felt my stomach tighten. That didn't make any sense. There was no way it could have gotten ahead of me after taking that bypass. Yet there it was, following me. The truck moved closer until I could see details. The front end was rusted. The headlights weren't just uneven. They were shattered. Broken glass hung from the housings. I kept checking my mirrors. Something looked wrong inside the cab.
I leaned forward, looked again. Then a cold feeling spread through my chest. There was nobody driving. The driver's seat was empty. I looked away and immediately looked back. Still empty. I told myself I was seeing things. Maybe the angle was bad. Maybe the driver was leaning down. Maybe I was tired. But deep down, I already knew what I'd seen. For the next several miles, the truck stayed behind me. Every time I switched lanes, it switched too. Not a second later, at the exact same moment, like it already knew what I was about to do. I sped up. It matched my speed. I slowed down. It slowed down. The distance between us never changed. Then I noticed something else. I couldn't hear it. A truck that size should have been loud. Even through closed windows, I should have heard the engine. But there was nothing. No rumble, no vibration, no sound at all. The silence bothered me more than anything else.
Finally, the Peterbilt pulled into the lane beside me. I turned my head and looked directly at it. The driver's seat was empty. Completely empty. But the steering wheel was moving, turning on its own. My hands tightened around the wheel. Every instinct told me to get away from that thing. Then I spotted a faded company logo on the door, just for a second, long enough to remember the name. The truck slowly moved ahead of me. Then it stayed there. Not speeding away, not passing, just leading. A few moments later, my GPS suddenly came back to life. The route line appeared on the screen. It wanted me to take an exit ahead, the same exit the Peterbilt was approaching. The truck signaled, then left the highway. Without thinking, I started following it. I don't know why. Even now, I can't explain it. It felt like I was being pulled along. Then I saw the road sign. The exit led to a town I recognized. The problem was that the town didn't exist anymore. It had been abandoned decades earlier. The realization hit me like a bucket of ice water. I slammed on the brakes.
The Peterbilt kept going. Its shattered headlights drifted farther down the dark road until they disappeared completely. The next morning, I searched for the company name I'd seen on the truck. What I found made my blood run cold. The company had shut down in the late 1980s. One of their drivers had vanished on Route 66. His Peterbilt was never found. Neither was he. The last reported location of the truck was only a few miles from where I'd seen the construction bypass. I wish I could tell you there was a logical explanation. Maybe there is. Maybe exhaustion got the better of me. Maybe I imagined part of it. But I've spent years trying to convince myself of that. And I still can't. All I know is this. I don't drive Route 66 at night anymore. And every now and then, when I'm checking my mirrors during a long overnight run, I'll catch myself looking a little longer than usual. Just to make sure there isn't an old rusted Peterbilt sitting back there in the darkness, waiting for me to follow it.